Good day, listeners. In a nation where justice is, well, paramount, what happens when the very individuals entrusted with upholding the law are accused of bending it?
It's a tough question.
Can the pursuit of a client's interests ever justify actions that seem to, undermine the integrity of the legal system itself?
That's the core issue here, isn't it?
Exactly. We're delving into a viral Supreme Court case today. It's really ignited debate about the boundaries of legal advocacy and the ethical responsibilities lawyers have in the Philippines. Our goal is to unpack the details of this significant Supreme Court ruling for you, drawing directly from the official records.
Right, so we're looking at Wilma L. Zamora versus 8AT, Makilito B. Mahinay. That's administrative case number 1128. It was formerly CBD case number 196086.
And promulgated when?
Just recently, May 9th, 2025.
Okay.
And the whole thing started from an intra-corporate dispute. It involved PJH Lending Corporation.
Ah, corporate battle.
Pretty much. You had two opposing factions, Wilma Zamora's side and Rosalie C. Farley's side. And Atty. Mahinay, the respondent here, was representing the Farley faction. Not just in the corporate stuff, but also a related criminal matter.
Okay, so Wilma Zamora filed this disbarment complaint against Atty. Mahinay. She alleged some pretty serious breaches of the Code of Professional Responsibility, the CPR. What were her main complaints?
Yeah, she laid out basically four key accusations. First, forum shopping.
Okay, explain that simply.
It's like trying your luck in different courts with the same issue, hoping for a better result, filing repeatedly.
Got it. What else?
Second, abuse of court processes, basically using legal tricks or procedures just to cause delays.
Right. Number 3.
Third, she accused him of misleading the courts. This was specific to an NBI forensic investigation.
Interesting. And the last one?
And finally, she claimed he made unjust, unfair accusations against her and her own lawyers in a separate filing. Pretty serious stuff.
Definitely. Let's break down that forum shopping claim a bit. What specific actions did Zamora point to?
Okay, so Zamora focused on Atty. Mahinay's filings in a falsification of public document case. He filed a motion to suspend proceedings. Denied. By Judge Forasuelo in Cebu City back in January 2016.
Okay.
Then he filed a motion for reconsideration.
Also denied.
Also denied, May 2016. After that, he filed a manifestation with a motion for voluntary intervention.
Trying to get the judge removed.
Exactly. And Judge Forasuelo did inhibit in July 2016. But even after the case got re-raffled to a different judge, Judge Seville,
he tried again.
he filed another manifestation with motion to suspend proceedings, and that was denied too in November 2017.
Wow. So Zamora argued this pattern was forum shopping.
Yeah, she said these repeated attempts to stop the criminal case while the corporate dispute was ongoing, basically asking for the same thing over and over, was, clear forum shopping.
Okay, and what about the abuse of court processes? What did that involve?
Well, this centered on Atty. Mahinay repeatedly bringing up this issue of a prejudicial question.
Which means?
Essentially arguing that the outcome of one case, the corporate one, should decide what happens in another, the criminal one. He kept filing motions to suspend the criminal proceedings based on this.
Where did he file these?
First, with the Office of the City Prosecutor in Cebu. Denied in May 2013.
Okay.
He appealed that denial to the Regional State Prosecutor. That was upheld initially, February 2014, but his motion for reconsideration was denied in April 2014.
So roadblocks there too. Did he stop?
Nope. He filed a manifestation with a reiteratory motion to hold issuance of warrant of arrest and suspend proceedings. Denied.
Keep going.
Then in opposition to the motion for issuance of warrant of arrest, with a prayer for inhibition against Judge Andrino.
Did that judge inhibit?
Yes, Judge Andrino did inhibit. But then Mahinay filed another motion to suspend proceedings with the next judge, Judge P. Denied it, May 2014. Mahinay filed for reconsideration and another motion to suspend for 60 days. The reconsideration was denied, but the suspension was actually granted briefly until July 11, 2014.
So a very long chain of motions.
Exactly. Zamora argued this relentless filing on the same grounds, even after multiple denials, was just a tactic to delay and obstruct, an abuse of the system.
Okay, now that accusation about misleading the court regarding the NBI investigation, what was the story there?
Right. Zamora claimed that while a motion she had filed about this NBI investigation was still waiting for a court decision, at CAUDI, Mahinay went ahead and got the investigation started.
Without telling the court about her pending motion.
That was the allegation. However, It later came out, and the Supreme Court noted this, that the actual NBI report was finished after the trial court had already issued its order on the matter.
Ah, so the timing was different.
Yes, and crucially, the SC found Zamora didn't really provide solid proof that she was negatively affected or prejudiced by Mahinay's actions here.
I see. Okay, and the final point, the really serious one about unjust accusations.
Yeah, this came from a totally separate disbarment case, actually, at Atty. Mahinay filed something called an ex parte manifestation, filed by one party without notifying the other. In this document, he made, well, some pretty shocking claims.
Like what?
He alleged Zamora and her lawyers had hired people to kill him. He even mentioned a contract price, a down payment. Really specific details.
Wow, that's extreme.
Extremely. Zamora also alleged he didn't just file it in that one case, but distributed copies to other judges who weren't even involved.
So, faced with all these accusations, what was Atty, Mahinay's defense? How did he respond?
Well, his main line was that everything he filed, all the motions, were just part of his duty to vigorously defend his client. Standard lawyer stuff, he argued.
He denied the forum shopping.
He denied it was intentional forum shopping. He pointed out that, hey, one judge did inhibit, so maybe his concerns are valid. He maintained all the legal steps he took were allowed under the rules.
And the NBI investigation part.
He noted Zamora had her own lawyers involved throughout that process. She wasn't unrepresented or unaware.
And the assassination claims. That's harder to explain away as standard practice.
He insisted he genuinely feared for his life. He said the manifestation was a necessary measure for his own protection. He even tried to argue it was covered by privileged communication things, said in legal proceedings that are usually protected from defamation claims.
Okay, so the case didn't go straight to the Supreme Court, right? It went through the IBP first, the Integrated Bar of the Philippines.
Correct. The IBP's Commission on Bar Discipline, the CBD, looked at it first. Their initial recommendation was fairly light on one count, just an admonition, like a formal warning for the abusive process.
And for the accusations.
For those unjust accusations, they recommended a 6-month suspension from practicing law.
But that wasn't the final IBP decision.
No, the IBP Board of Governors reviewed the CBD's recommendation. They actually decided to dismiss the abusive process charge completely.
Really?
Yes. But they agreed with the suspension for the unjust accusations, upholding the 6-month penalty for that specific offense.
And now, under current rules, the Supreme Court can just take it from there.
Exactly. No need for more motions at the IBP level. Bar Matter 1645 and the new CPRA rules mean the SC can directly act on the IBP Board's resolution.
So the highest court weighs in. What was the Supreme Court's final decision? Did they just adopt the IBP's view?
No, actually, the Supreme Court took a different stance on some key points. It was quite a significant ruling. They did find Atty, Mahinay, guilty of willful and deliberate forum shopping.
Ah, so they disagreed with the IBP board on that one. Why?
The court looked at that pattern, again, the motion to suspend, the motion for reconsideration, the inhibition, then another motion to suspend with a new judge, plus a petition for certiorari also seeking suspension.
All aiming for the same thing.
Precisely. Suspend the criminal case pending the outcome of the corporate case. Same parties, same core issue, filed in ways that could lead to conflicting rulings. The SC said this clearly met the definition of willful and deliberate forum shopping, violating Canon 2, Section 23 of the CPRA.
Okay. What about the abuse of court processes? The IBP board dismissed that.
The Supreme Court disagreed again. They did find him liable for abuse of court processes.
Based on what specifically?
They really zeroed in on him filing motions for inhibition right after getting bad rulings from Judge Forasuelo and Judge Andrino.
Can't do that.
The court was very clear. Inhibition isn't a tool for lawyers to shop for a judge they think might be more favorable. Filing frivolous inhibition motions, which is how the SC views some of his, is an abuse. They cited Canon 3, Section 7 of the CPRA, and classified it as a light offense under Section 35D.
But they agreed he didn't mislead the court about the NBI thing.
Correct. On that point, they stuck with the earlier finding. The NBI report came out after the court order, and Zamora hadn't shown substantial proof of actual harm or prejudice caused by Mahinay's actions regarding that specific investigation.
Okay, now back to the big one. The unjust accusations. The murder plot claims. What did the SC say?
They upheld the finding that he was guilty of making unjust and unfair accusations. They tackled his privileged communication defense head-on. They said, yes, there's privilege for statements made in legal proceedings, but, and this is key, only if those statements are relevant to the issue being discussed.
And the murder plot wasn't relevant?
Not relevant at all to the disbarment case where he filed that manifestation. The court acknowledged lawyers have a duty to report serious threats, citing Canon II, Section 16. But a disbarment proceeding against someone else isn't the right place to make those kinds of explosive accusations, especially without any formal criminal complaint being filed about the alleged threat.
So it was improper, regardless of whether he believed it.
Yes. The SC emphasized that his statements unfairly attacked the reputation of fellow lawyers. This violated Canon II, Section 2, the duty for dignified conduct, and Section 4, the duty to use dignified language. They also pointedly mentioned his lack of remorse.
He also tried to reopen the case later.
He did file a motion to reopen, claiming there was a substantial defect, and he'd been denied due process under Canon VI, Section 29.
Did the SEC buy that?
No, they denied it. They basically said due process means having the opportunity to be heard. Adjusting. Mahinay had plenty of chances through pleadings, hearings, he was heard. There was no denial of justice.
So, summing it all up, what were the final penalties the Supreme Court handed down?
Okay, the court considered his history. He apparently had a prior administrative case, Lewin v. Mahinay, where he was admonished for misusing court processes. That, plus his lack of remorse, were seen as aggravating factors.
Making the penalties potentially harsher.
Exactly. Under Canon VI, Section 39, penalties can even be doubled in some cases. So for the willful forum shopping, a serious offense.
What was the penalty?
Suspension from the practice of law for 1 year.
Okay. For the abusive process, the frivolous inhibition motions?
That was classified as a light offense. He received a fine of PHP 35,000.
And for the improper language, the unjust accusations against the other lawyers?
That was deemed a less serious offense under Canon II, Sections 2 and 4. For that, a fine of PHP 100,000.
Quite significant fines.
Yes. And on top of the suspension and fines, the court issued a stern warning that doing anything similar again would be dealt with more severely. He also has to formally tell the court when his 1-year suspension starts.
This case really does lay out some critical lines, doesn't it? Considering all these details, what does this ruling signify about that delicate balance between, fighting hard for your client and staying ethically sound in the Philippines?
I think it powerfully reaffirms that zealous advocacy has limits. You have to fight for your client, yes, but you can't cross certain lines. Tactics like forum shopping or filing motions just to delay or judge shop, those undermine the whole system.
And the language used?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It also sends a strong message about professionalism and respect within the bar. Throwing around wild, unsubstantiated accusations against opposing counsel is just not acceptable. It damages reputations and hurts public trust in lawyers generally.
So for our listeners, how might this impact your understanding of the responsibilities lawyers carry in upholding the rule of law?
It shows that their duty isn't just to the client, but also to the courts, to the profession, and ultimately to the integrity of the justice system itself.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this complex case. Please share your comments below. And if you found this deep dive into Zamora versus Mahinay useful, do mark it as a favorite. It really brings several key legal doctrines into focus.
Definitely. First, forum shopping. Remember, that's filing similar suits in different places, hoping for a win. It's a big no-no.
Right. Second,
Abusive court processes. Using legal procedures improperly, like filing flimsy motions for inhibition just to delay things or get a new judge.
got it. Third,
The limits of privileged communication in judicial proceedings. Statements in court are generally protected, but only if they're relevant. You can't just say anything defamatory if it has nothing to do with the case.
makes sense. And finally,
The core ethical duties of lawyers. Things like basic courtesy, fairness, honesty towards other lawyers, and using dignified, not offensive or intemperate, language. It's fundamental.
if this kind of in-depth analysis helps you stay informed on critical legal developments here in the Philippines, please make sure you subscribe to the Deep Dive. We'll bring you more insightful explorations just like this one.